As eRacing Academy, we've been really wanting to compare these two entry-level direct drive wheels, and as you can see on my left, we have the 8 Newton meter Fanatec CSL DD, and on my right we have the Moza R9. And when comparing these two, we really want to emphasize and go through a lot of topics, a lot of headlines basically that differentiate these two bases. And we're looking at basically size, weight, quality of material, how to set it up, the drivability, the quick releases, and basically all the topics we can think about. Firstly, I want to start with the physical specification. As you can see, the Fanatec CSL DD is a lot larger, and I think the fact that the reason it's bigger is because it has a lot more cooling channels, and these grills are obviously sticking out more compared to the Moza. The Moza has some cooling grills, some air vents, but they're obviously much smaller compared to the Fanatec CSL DD. And in terms of weight, let's just do a quick check. Seems like the Fanatec's a little heavier, but anyhow. So in terms of materials, they both use aviation spec aluminium. When you look at the Fanatec, the front cap and the back cap, they're plastic, yeah. So there's a bit more plastic on the Fanatec CSL DD, whereas the Moza seems like it only has plastic at the back side of the unit. So when we look at the connections, the ports, obviously I have to keep it facing towards me. The biggest difference I can see with the Fanatec CSL compared to the Moza R9 is the USB ports. The USB ports on the Fanatec are all USB-C, and the ones on the Moza are pretty much the kind of USBs, the square USBs we normally find on printers. Including what we have on Fanatec, we have a data cable, we have a shifter 1, shifter 2, pedal and handbrake, obviously power as well. And on the Moza we have a dash cable which we connect normally here, and we have an emergency stop. When you look at the amount of ports it has, I think the Fanatec is the winner because it has more. Alright, let's now look into how we can mount these bases onto our fixed cockpit or our table. So basically, let's start with the Fanatec. Fanatec has a lot of options how you can mount this unit. So let's start off with the lower end. You can use these T-nuts and bolt them. And I have to give you bad news, these T-nuts are pretty much Fanatec specific. You can't buy these from anywhere else. Whatever you buy or whatever you use for your fixed cockpit or your Sigma cockpit doesn't work, so please don't try your luck. So coming to the sides, you can pretty much slot these T-nuts to the side and connect them as you wish. But I think what you'll also see is there's 4 holes here, which allows you to actually, or which can allow you to mount this unit from the front as well. Whereas the Moza, unfortunately, is not as lucky as the Fanatec when it comes to mounting options, because we only have these 4 holes, and that's pretty much what we can use. Just to add, both these brands have their own table clamps, which are optional. The Fanatec ones come with 2 versions, so you have a cheaper plastic one and a more expensive steel one. The Moza comes with a steel one, only 1 option, and actually that's the same one that comes out of the box of the R5. So in terms of torque outputs and power supplies, we know the Fanatec CSL DD produces 8 Newton meters of torque with this Power Kit 180, and the Moza R9, as it pretty much name indicates, produces 9 Newton meters of torque. However, I want to just point out that both power supplies have an output of 180 watts, and actually considering the Moza delivers, let's say, 12% torque, they actually require the same amount of power. So in terms of setup and software, both brands come with their own piece of software. The Fanatec comes with a Fanalab, the Moza comes with a Pithouse, and all you have to do pretty much is connect these units via USB to the PC, set it up, and even if there's a update required, it does it for you without any hesitation, and all you have to do is pretty much plug and play. In addition to the PC software, both brands come with a mobile app, and with this mobile app actually you can change all the parameters, all the settings in these units. I know the Fanatec one actually can act as a display as well, but I think we're more interested in the ability to be able to change the settings. So the only thing that actually differs these brands is the Fanatec allows you to change the parameters and pretty much personalize your steering wheel settings on the screen. So what you can do is, as you're driving, you can go through all these menus and change any setting as you wish. This is obviously a preference. Some may prefer having a big tablet and changing the necessary changes whilst driving, but all I can say is Fanatec can do it from the wheel. In terms of their software and ease of use, I can say the Moza Pithouse looks more modern. It's pretty much, we're more familiar with that look, with these like modern website looks. And when you look at the menus itself and all the parameters you can change, it's user-friendly and it's descriptive as well. So you're not going to get lost. However, all I can say, the biggest difference with the Moza Pithouse software compared to the Fanalab, other than the aesthetics and the ease of use, is the equalizer effect. Basically, that graph is unique because we've never seen it before. It is really eye-opening in terms of thinking that Moza gave frequencies scenarios frequencies. You can adjust those parameters specifically for what you want, which is obviously something very unique. But this doesn't mean the Fanalab software lacks in this area, maybe just in terms of aesthetics or ease of use. But for me, the Fanalab software is more high-end, it has more parameters. You go into details more in a different way, let's say. And I can definitely say that when coming to a, let's say, setting that you're happy with, it took a shorter time with the Moza Pithouse than the Fanalab, but I think I was happier with the feedback and the response I was getting from the Fanalab. But even though it took longer to get to the optimum setting with the Fanalab, I think I was happier with the end result. So it's now turn for my favorite subject, driving performance. So 8 Newton meters, 9 Newton meters. We'll keep repeating ourselves with this. Very similar. It's very hard to feel this difference of only 12%. We don't have any values of the holding torques, but all I can say is you can actually feel that extra 1 Newton meter at peak. So when you actually feel it, such as bumps, curbs, apexes, or any other instant base that requires a lot of force feedback. So I can basically say that you felt more of a hit with the Moza R9. With the Fanatec, even though it's got less torque, I was able to feel the weight of the car and the grip of the tires and these, let's say, feelings better. And this kind of allowed me to have more confidence in my driving and maybe push the car to the next step. I think it's unfair to say that Moza lacks in this area because obviously we were getting a lot of details, but not maybe some we were expecting as that came from the Fanatec. And I think the reason we're seeing these differences is basically the technology used inside these units and obviously the software that comes with it. I don't want to cut the driving performance subject so soon because we actually did a lot of driving with both units. We drove them on 4 different sims, and these were iRacing, rFactor 2, Assetto Corsa, Assetto Corsa Competizione. And in these 4 sims, Moza surprisingly performed the best in iRacing, whereas the Fanatec, I think, was performing the best in Assetto Corsa Competizione. And when you think about it, Fanatec actually supports the GT World Championship, which is the official, I think, game for the Assetto Corsa Competizione. So I don't think that's a surprise. Our next subject is steering wheels and quick release. So in terms of steering wheels, I wanted to choose wheels that were not the cheapest nor the most expensive the brand offers. So from Fanatec we have the Club Sport RS steering wheel, and from Moza we have the CS. And in terms of size, ergonomics and functionality, they're very similar, except for the fact that you can actually change your force feedback settings on this screen. But all I can say is they're actually very good size and weight for these units. And now it's time to look at these quick release designs, and I think this is where they differ most, because the Fanatec quick release is so much thinner, such a smaller design compared to the Moza. When I was actually doing some driving with the Fanatec, I came across something that wasn't so pleasant, because whilst driving, let's say, as I was going over a bump or had a big impact, there was a large clink, basically in the quick release. And this is actually very, very disturbing, rather confusing, because at that point you don't know if there's actually something wrong with the quick release, the wheel hub, or it's actually the kind of force feedback you don't want to feel. And all of this obviously doesn't give you a lot of confidence. However, with the Moza, I had none of these issues. Never came across any noise, any clunk, click, any sort of friction or looseness. And obviously looking at the size and design is pretty obvious why. So in terms of availability and ease of purchase, Fanatec has their own website and you can pretty much only purchase it from that website. Moza, on the other hand, it's a Chinese brand made in China, and it seems like it's more popular on that side of the world. So if you're living in the Middle East or Asia, basically, it's easier for you to purchase a Moza brand. With respect to dealership, Fanatec doesn't offer dealership. You can only buy these products from their website, whereas Moza does offer dealerships. So if your country has a dealership, please contact them. So you're probably asking me, Jason, which one would you recommend, or which one would you basically advise us to buy? So I want to actually start off with the brand itself. Fanatec has been in this business for a long time. They've produced hundreds of products and they have millions of hours of R&D. Moza, a very new brand, and obviously have been in the industry for such a short time. But even though, considering the amount of, let's say, know-how, experience and development they've had, their first products have been very, very good. Biggest difference between them is probably, I think, the quick release design. For me, it's rather disappointing that such an established brand such as Fanatec has a design issue with their quick release, and the newcomer, the new kid on the block, Moza, has such a sturdy, good, solid job with their quick release, and I'm really hoping the quick release version 2 is going to be a huge update compared to this one. And obviously there's the driving performance side as well. More torque, more detail, but I think I prefer the detail because, as I said previously, I can feel the grip better, I can feel the weight transfer better, so I can basically feel the details I want more whilst driving with the Fanatec. Yes, there's a lot of detail in this as well, but I still prefer the way the Fanatec gives me those details, and those details pretty much give me more confidence whilst driving and allow me to push the car a little bit more, and honestly I'm enjoying it more. Obviously some of you may be more price dependent, and yes, the Fanatec products are on average about 25 to 30% more expensive than the Moza. So if you have a budget, it's probably more sensible that you're going to consider one of these. Both of these brands have a good ecosystem. Yes, the Fanatec ecosystem is a little bit broader. The Moza is getting broader by the day. However, I think Moza needs a little bit more time to be able to compete with the Fanatec brand. I just want to emphasize that these are my thoughts, feelings, and opinions about these two units. I've gone over the things that I am looking for in a steering wheel base. It may not be the same as yours, so all I can say is that my opinions, my thoughts and feelings are for me, and yours are for yours. And on that bombshell, it's time to end this video. So if you've liked it, please press that like button. If you don't follow us, please follow, subscribe, and until then, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.